All right, folks, we are here at Broad Street Hockey, and we're excited. Flyers season is almost upon us, and as Flyers season is almost upon us, it's also almost Phantom season. You might have forgotten about the AHL team up in Lehigh Valley, and I'm very excited to get into some of the nitty gritty going on with the Phantoms with two of my BSH compatriots here. So I am Steve, this is Maddie, and this is Jacob, and we are going to talk about Phantoms today. Very excited. Maddie, how are you today?
Fabulous. How are you?
Oh, I'm exhausted, but I'm here, and we're going to talk some AHL hockey. Jacob, how's it going?
I am great. I've been fighting off a bit of a cold as of recent, bit of something, but hopefully my voice doesn't sound too compromised for the
Okay.
rest
You're
of
all
today.
good.
You sound beautiful, my friend. You sound
Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
So let's get into it. So the Phantoms, are going to have a really young team this year. I feel like and before we get started, I'm sorry, I was going to get into it but this is a podcast and it's a sponsored podcast today. So, sponsored by our good fans over at FanDuel. And I just want to mention you can get Matvey Mishkov right now to get 80 plus regular season points for what is it? It's only 270 right now, but that's pretty good odds right there. So put a few bucks on old Matvey to score some goals or score some points. He's going to have a monster year. We all know it. So over at FanDuel, go check that out. But going to the other young guys who did not make the Flyers, and there's many, I want to start off by talking about Alex Bump today because Alex Bump was, I think, one of the most anticipated prospects heading into camp with the Flyers. People expected Alex Bump to make the team. He went in with a lot of piss and vinegar, for lack of a better term there. He was a guy who was pumped. He wanted to make the NHL team. And ultimately, he just didn't look ready. He did not look like he was prepared for the NHL level. Nikita Grabenkin really did step up and show us exactly what kind of player he was and secure that NHL spot. So, Maddie, what are your thoughts on Bump and what are your expectations for him going into the season?
Yeah, between him and Gurbenkin, it seemed like it was a lot of things, but like the physical maturity was the big separator for me. And it was something that Bump kind of dealt with at the end of last season and into the postseason with the Phantoms is he when he could find the space, he could do a lot of really good and interesting things offensively, but increasingly he was having a hard time finding that space and creating it for himself because he just didn't really know what to do with the more physical defenders at that level. And I think the Flyers might have hoped that with a good summer in the gym, building up some raw strength, that he might be able to overcome that in the NHL preseason, and it just hasn't really worked out that way. So, he's going to get a lot of minutes down with the Phantoms. He's going to get a lot of runway to kind of figure that out. But I think that's the big thing that kind of is at the core of what he needs to work on.
I mean, that checks out to me based on what I saw. Jacob, what are your thoughts on Bump?
Yeah, no, like you said, coming out of Western Michigan, he had a lot of hype. He had a lot of momentum taking him into like his pro debut. He looked good for a little bit with the Phantoms. It's not as if he was a burden there, but there's such a jump to the NHL that I'm not sure if, like Maddie said, he's physically ready for. He likes to get to the middle of the ice. He likes to get to the dangerous areas. And when you do that, you're going to take some lumps. You're going to really get hit. It's not going to be easy. And when you're facing guys who in the AHL, it's probably good for him to go to the AHL just because you can face guys who are of physical stature of the NHL. There's some big boys down there and they're tough. The problem is translating to the NHL, you have to do that with added speed. You have to do that a little bit quicker. All the decisions have to be a bit quicker. His release has to be a bit quicker. And those are things that I think he will develop in the AHL a lot better than he would in the NHL, trying to struggle through on the fourth line, right? You try to put him on the power play, see if he can work on his shot and work off of the half wall, try to get to the middle of the ice and develop a bit more of that scoring touch that the Flyers so desperately need at this point in the NHL. It's not going to be right away for Bump, and he'd had to have had a really good camp, I think, in order to jump like a Grabenkin who was playing in the NHL last season, right? So it's just physical maturity for him, and maybe even speeding up the decision-making process just a little bit before he's ready to make some sort of impact in the NHL, maybe later on down the line.
Yeah, I think you're dead on with that assessment right there. So the next guy I wanted to talk about is, I would say, if you're looking at anticipated prospects for the Philadelphia Flyers, this guy has to be up there. He has to be, as far as guys in the system, ready to play in the near future. Denver Barkey is a name you keep hearing about. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, he's obviously very talented, but also he's got that fire in him. Bump and Barkey are going to be huge jerks for this team in the near future, and I'm super excited about it. Now, how are we feeling about Barkey right now?
The thing with Barkey is, the reason why he fell to the third round, despite being from coming out of London, that developmental program that is always so highly touted. He's 5'9", and they got him listed on Elite Prospects at 154. I'm assuming he's a bit heavier this year. I cannot imagine he weighs like 30 pounds less than me. But if he does, it's going to be tough for him to play pro hockey right away, right? It was always going to be him going to the AHL because he just needs to figure out how to get into his connect me mode. Realistically, he has to figure out how to play bigger than he necessarily is at the pro level, because he did it really well in London. It was never a question of his size in London or in international play at the Hlinka Gretzky in the Memorial Cup. None of that stuff was ever a problem for him, like his size. But when you get to the NHL at 5'9", it's you see guys do it more and more nowadays, but it's still difficult if you don't know how to utilize the space around you. And again, him more so than Bump, I think, is going to really have to get used to taking those lumps. And he's tough. He's hard-nosed, like you said. Like, he has no issue of getting into physical conversation, bumping bodies, getting in the corner. You saw that last year in London as he got a little bit more physically mature. But yeah, he's going to need some time. I don't think he's going to come out of the gates hot, but it's definitely a bonus if he does.
Yeah, Maddie, what do you think about Barkey?
Yeah, I think he's a guy who it's hard not to be excited about him, right? And it seems like the Phantoms coaching staff feels the same way. Talking to John Snowden last weekend, was really impressed with his one preseason game that he got in for, and really likes that he seems like a guy he can play in any position, in any game situation as well. He's getting a lot of minutes on the power play and on the penalty kill so far. So I definitely agree. Like, it's going to be a process, and I want to keep my expectations under control with him, but it seems like they want to use him a lot. So that's going to be a lot
Yeah.
of runway for him.
Yeah. Like, when I was going to school, when in London, when Barkey was first coming through, and I loved him. Like, he is so electric if he can get it all going, like at the OHL level in that 23-24 season, like in particular, when Cowan and those guys were gone at the World Juniors, he just took over. He was just a different level of player, and he carried that into the next year, becoming like the main guy for a team that is so, they just are churning through NHL prospects. Even now, they're going to keep doing it, even with the NCAA, like taking a lot of the more marquee talents. London's still going to get guys in, and Barkey was the cream of the crop, right? It's just the matter of, can his size translate to the NHL and be effective as a scorer and be durable. But the game is just it's so fun to watch. It's so entertaining, and he has so much potential to be something great as long as he can hold up under the pressure that he's going to face when he gets to pro hockey.
Yeah, I really hope he works out, but that size is such a big factor to overcome.
It's not impossible. You just have to be really skilled and know how to use the lanes of the ice. I don't think hockey is directly as physical, like in the certain way of like Nicholas Cronel's going to blow you up along the wall. Like, there's 10 times a year someone's going to get absolutely hip checked in the middle of the ice and destroyed. I think a lot of these guys, they have like the edge work so good, if you can get around it, you can get around it. Like Cole Caulfield's tiny.
He is. He's a tiny guy. They call him the small goals boy for a reason. Another guy who's not the biggest, but he's kind of more of in a nebulous space. I don't think anybody's excited for him by any means, is Samu Tuomala. And I just don't know what this guy's place in the organization is at this point. It just seems like a guy who's going to get traded. What are your thoughts on Samu, Maddie?
Yeah, this is definitely a make or break year for him. I know it seems like the organization's been a little bit cagey about that, but the writing on the wall seems to be that this is the year that he really has to figure it out. And it's just been, we know that he can score at the AHL level. He's been very productive in that way in his first 2 seasons, but he's just been so inconsistent. He's got one game where he'll be all over the place, creating a ton of chances and just being a nightmare to play against. And then the next night he's hard to find at all. It's really frustrating, but yeah.
Well, because you see the talent sometimes.
Yeah.
You see him out there like doing special things.
He has the
and
pedigree.
then he just turns into a ghost,
Yeah. So it seems like that's something that they're really trying to work on with him this season. Now, whether that works out, I don't know, because it seems like the messaging the last 2 years hasn't really been taking with him, because it's not like they haven't seen him being inconsistent up to this point and tried to fix that. But I don't know, maybe the new coaching staff taps into something different with him, but this is going to be a big year for him.
Yeah, like he's played 115 games with the Phantoms at this point. Like he's been around for quite a while. He's produced for quite a while. I mean, he hasn't really had a bad year in terms of production ever in the AHL, but you don't get to the NHL by being a streaky AHL scorer. That's the last way you get to the AHL. The only other way that can maybe prohibit you even more is being an offensive defenseman in the AHL, which we will get to later on, I assume. But yeah, Tuomala is gonna have to show that he can actually be someone who is within the top 6 consistently and actually just bringing a game that is translatable to the NHL, because he's not going to score, that 32 points in 46 games. That's not a lot when translated to the NHL. And if you're not doing anything besides scoring, you just don't. Even on a team like the Flyers, who need guys who can score, there's too many guys competing for jobs at this point in the bottom 6 for them to give you a shot right now. Like there's other forwards who are in front of them that weren't even drafted at this point, right? That are guys who just showed up, or someone like Carl Grundstrom, who we might talk about later as well. He might have already jumped. He probably will. He's played in the NHL. He's probably jumped over to Amala, and that's just another obstacle in his way. And it might be time's up for him here.
Yeah, it's tough. Like maybe they're hoping that he can do a sort of Scott Lawton style reprogramming of his game. And it seems like he's trying to play more physically, but again, it's also like a no effect hit isn't really going to move the needle. Like you have to figure out how to play a smart, physically engaged game. And that's kind of not really there yet. Maybe it gets there. I don't know. I'd love to be surprised, but I don't know how this is going to go for him.
Yeah, I feel like he's outside of the organization's plans at this point, and it's a bummer because I liked his highlights. I know he wasn't the most exciting draft pick, but I thought he did have potential. Now, the next guy I want to talk about, Jacob, has a little bit of a resemblance to this guy. Devin Kaplan, another just gritty, tough guy. Some might call him dirty at times, but he's a guy who brings energy to the ice every time he plays. Do we have any strong thoughts on Kaplan?
Good looking. We probably have the same chance of playing in the NHL this year, actually. No offense. New Jersey boy, but
what do you have? Like a cup of coffee? He didn't even have a cup of coffee. He had like a little espresso cup with the Flyers.
Yeah, that's the Americano or something. One game. What's one game? I have no idea what one game is. That's not a cup of coffee. That's a bean.
Yeah, he had one coffee bean.
He had a bean of time in the NHL last year. He didn't look particularly interesting. I mean, he's an energy guy. Again, there's so many guys who are going to be coming through the ranks, like as of next year, even that are going to be competing for jobs that I don't see him as a guy who is actually going to compete for the NHL. He didn't look very impressive whenever I saw him at BU. He was the assistant captain his last year, but that's because he was there for 2 years before. That's kind of how the torch is passed on, right? And it's not like he was bad there. It's just he's not anyone that they ever relied on. It's his first AHL season, so it'll be interesting to see if maybe he can get a little bit more physical and maybe reshape his game into, he's 6'3", 201. He's a big guy, so like if he can become a power forward and develop like the skills a bit more to become a bit more of a scorer, of a positive impact on the ice rather than just being physical and kind of just cycling the puck and doing the dirty work, then maybe he can sneak in as the new Garnet Hathaway one day somewhere down the line. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that physicality is going to be the big thing with him. This is something I noticed in the rookie games as well, is like he has a lot of size. He does bring that, but it seems like he doesn't totally know what to do with it. Like the positioning is just not really there, and he's getting pushed off of pucks a lot easier than you would think he would be for a guy as big as him. Maybe that's just playing a little bit more focused, getting some more reps at this next level. But I think everything is going to kind of build up from that. So he's got to get that figured out first.
Every time I look at his face, I laugh.
I would too if I was you. It's a funny coincidence right there. But yeah,
I saw his entry-level signing, and I was looking at it. I was like,
Who's that?
Who the hell is this?
We got to get you down here for a game.
Yeah, you guys can do the Spider-Man point at each other.
Yeah. I got us in the first row.
Wait, I feel like I have to get a Devin Kaplan picture up here on the screen. Just
I don't know if you can do that. It's pretty close.
Oh, I can get that. I can get that for sure. Give me 1 second. I got to present, and I got to get my share screen up, and then there we go.
No, I don't like. I'm hoping that now people are going to be like, see, the thing is, I don't have that hairstyle, but it's not
the eyebrows. It's all on the eyebrows.
Yeah.
Brows don't lie. Oh my God. It's good.
Yeah, it's him and Matt Coronado, and then we're all together.
You're all together.
Me, him, and Matt Coronado with a helmet on. Somehow has infiltrated the AHL.
What a club it is, and we've changed positions and everything. But who cares?
Now you can see me isolated.
You're front and center now. That's how we want it. But you know what? Who cares? Let's do it live. Whatever. The next guy that I wanted to talk about on my list here is if I would say Barkey's definitely near the top of anticipated guys, but of guys who are not with the NHL team and who are not in college, this might be the most anticipated guy hanging around out there. Oliver Bonk, who went from a guy that people were not that excited about drafting to people being very excited to people being kind of in the middle. But I think people are still pumped just because the defensive depth on this team, as far as the pipeline goes, is not great. And Bonk definitely stands out as a guy who is here and can make a difference. So, Maddie, what are our Bonk thoughts right now?
First, I would just love to see him get going. Seems like he's still going to be out for at least another week or so. He picked up that mystery upper body situation during.
I don't know any people are just getting injured, and I don't know when it's happening now.
Yeah.
And the Flyers are as mysterious as ever, with all these injury updates. It's bad.
Cam York, he could be back tomorrow. He could be back in next April. I don't know. Could be back for the playoffs.
Who's to say? But yeah, I mean, Jacob, do you have any strong thoughts on Oliver Bonk here?
But I really like Bonk too. He was a guy when they drafted him, again, coming out of London. That team was very, very good, and he was playing the bumper on the power play. I remember that was a whole thing that He's in the OHL playing the bumper on the power play, and he's not going to be able to do that in professional hockey in the AHL or in the NHL. But first off, I'll try anything at this point. Second off, I like Bonk because he seems like he's coachable and he has a good base of skills. For defensemen, that's kind of why I was high on Cam York as well. Is like the worst case scenario for Oliver Bonk, like to me, is still an NHL defenseman. I just can't see how he becomes a guy who isn't at least useful. Now it's that upper ceiling that you don't necessarily know about, but that's what the AHL is going to be for, and hopefully he can start to put some points on the board in the in the A. Again, like we said, there's not too many guys in the system who are all that interesting, who are going to be pushed in front of him, like Hunter McDonald and Helgi Grans. Like, I don't think they're necessarily guys who are going to move the needle right away. So Bonk is going to have as much opportunity and responsibility as he's able to garner from the coaching staff. So I'm interested in him maybe above anybody else to see what he does in the AHL, because I really like him, and I really like his potential as a pro.
Yeah, the role thing is going to be interesting too, because they just don't have many righties down there at the moment. I think right now they have maybe one healthy righty. So if he can get back soon, that's going to be there's a big door open for him. Ethan Sampson's going to be out for like 6 more weeks, I think. So
Yeah,
the minutes are there for him.
yeah. This defense is what happened here. This is a wasteland of.
It's a
This is like
mess.
Fallout 3 of decors here. This is ridiculous. What happened here? This is horrible.
It is horrible to watch. And, we were talking about like the Flyers' quest for a defenseman earlier today in the Slack and everything. And all of a sudden the Flyers are, according to Elliot Friedman, and I think DeMarco had a rumor out there that the Flyers are looking for defensemen. And I think a lot of us are sitting there screaming and going, but there is a defenseman who played good NHL minutes last year that you could very easily just plug into the lineup. And that's Emil Andrae, who is 23 years old, looked great in stints with the Flyers last year. And he just does not seem to be on Rick Tockett's radar right now. Like, what are we thinking right here with Emil Andrae?
It kind of blows my mind, to be completely honest, especially because the thing that we've been hearing is like that they have some hesitation about having all of Cam York, Jamie Drysdale, and Andre in the lineup at the same time, because then the group gets too small or whatever. Cam York's out right now, so that's not a thing that we have to worry about.
I mean, come on. He's and the guy played good hockey, and it's not like he was, specifically a liability on the defensive end, where like
No.
Drysdale I like a lot, but when Drysdale's at his worst, he is a disaster on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sorry, Maddie, but I did write something about Andre when he got sent down. Go check it out on BrowStreetHockey.com. And basically, like, it's hard to even think about it like this way because it doesn't seem how it is, but he did play 42 NHL games last year. Like, he was in the lineup. Like, he played, and that's for John Tortorella, right? Like, he's not necessarily, at that point, you could have argued that Torts is checked out near the end of the season, blah, 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 blah. But regardless, he was in the NHL and he was playing, and I would say that the Flyers decor last year is probably going to be better than what they start this year with right now, with Cam York not playing, with Risto not playing. It's like one of those things that I'm looking at. I don't get it. He played more NHL games last year than Juleson and Gilbert, but Juleson and Gilbert are like the veteran guys, but they're both just simply not good. It's not really, I don't really hate the guys personally or anything, but there's nothing that they have that is an NHL skill that you can be impressed with, really. I mean, you see even Adam Yinning. I think they're calling it Yinning now, right?
Who
They
knows?
changed it. I believe it's Yinning now.
Ugh.
I always said Yinning, and then people corrected it to Ginning, and now I think they're on Yinning. Adam
I
Yinning,
mean,
even totally
on.
fine with him, right? He's fine, but he's not anything stellar. Is it just because these guys are big?
It has to be
That's the only thing.
Because Andre was the one guy who came in last year and had a moment where he actually looked like a top pair defenseman. Like that first stint, he was outstanding, and we were so bummed when he got sent back down. And granted, he didn't look as good when he came up after that, but the coach also just did not clearly like him for whatever reason, and it might just be size based.
Yeah, and I just want to add like one more time, just if it was just based on merit, you looked at season compared to season, games played in the NHL versus games played in the NHL. I don't know if Jamie Drysdale looked better than Emil Andrae last year. Honestly, I'd kind of lean towards Andrae at times. Drysdale had some good games. That goal against the Ducks and Cutter's return sticks out to me, and it was a really good time. But it's at least not as far of a difference to where one is a locked in member of the lineup and the other one is starting in the AHL. But obviously there are extenuating circumstances with Drysdale that make you tethered to his development more so than Andrae. But you're missing you're missing two regulars right now. Is it really worth just playing two 28-year-olds on a team that's probably not going to be very good?
Yeah. And the other thing that gets me too is like, it's not like Andre plays a small game.
No.
I looked back at my notes from the games over the weekend, and he had one play where he just sort of shrugged off an opponent, and like the guy went fully airborne, and it looked like he didn't even try. And I'm like, this is the guy we're worried about playing too small? Like, am I going insane?
Am I taking crazy pills? No, it
Yeah.
feels like it. It does feel like it because I agree with you. I thought he played a bigger game, and I thought he played a bigger game on defense at times too. He wasn't getting muscled in his own zone like you think he would. And it doesn't make sense. Like, I think Juleson must have saved Rick Tockett's life or something because I don't get it.
He's never been good. He's never once been good.
No.
Any team he's played for.
And like, it's the new Vandeveldy, right? Where the coach is going out of his way to praise the game of a guy that we all think looks crappy. So I truly don't get it. I won't understand it. And it's going to be sad if they trade Andre for essentially, a bag of pucks after all this.
Yeah, they send him off for a 3rd-round pick or something. I mean, that's one of those where you look at it and say, you definitely didn't get the most out of this asset that you could have. And it seems like there's been a lot of those scenarios occurring for the Flyers. And it seems like every year we have to go through the conversation of somebody isn't playing in the lineup on defense. And there's probably a guy in the lineup that shouldn't be there, and they're kind of just there. It's not like Noah Juleson has a long and storied past with the Philadelphia Flyers. It's not like Dennis Gilbert is this NHL mainstay. These guys aren't necessarily studs by any sense of the word, and they're going to get their ample chances to play regardless. And Andre's not, and it's just unfortunate because he's 23 and he looks like a guy who could, if you found something, tapped into what like he has just skill wise and was able to make it work in your system, it feels like he could run a power play too, in the future, but I don't know if he'll ever get to see it here, and he might be somewhere else.
Yeah. That's a bummer right there. And I really just hate to see it. You really do. It just sucks. The next guy I wanted to mention on the defensive end over here is, I really don't know where he fits into the puzzle. And this is a guy who, if he could find a way to step up, if he could find a way to make kind of a discernible game-changing skill for himself, could make himself a nice part of the NHL team. But I'm not sure that he has it in him. And that's Helge Grans, who is 23 years old, 6'3", 205 right-handed shot. He's got a lot of pros for him on the defensive end, but was it you, Jacob, or was it you, Maddie, who said, does he have any true NHL skills in the notes here?
Yeah,
I did not put that.
That was actually me. That was my fault. I didn't
No,
mean to say that.
I think it's actually a great conversation piece here. So yeah, Jacob, just take it away.
Well, no, it's not even him necessarily, right? It's kind of just the whole mix of these guys, right? Like, it's the same with Yinning. It's the same with Gilbert. It's like, what are these guys bringing to your roster if you put them on an NHL, defense pair? 23 points in 66 games is actually pretty decent for a defenseman, production-wise, but that's not really his game. And he's kind of struggled to find what his game is. You know, he got traded in the Provorov, Cal Peterson mega deal back in the day, right? He was part of that. And I always thought it was weird that the Kings gave up on him so quickly after he was drafted. I believe it was a second round. Yeah, second round, 35th overall, like early second round in 2020. Obviously, a weird draft year,
A little bit.
trying to figure out and parse through who were actually good or not, because I don't imagine that the LA scouts got to Sweden very often that year. But regardless, it was weird that he just was pushed out the door in kind of a trade that was not necessarily for something of massive value. I mean, Provorov was good, or Gavrikov and Provorov were pretty good, but that's not necessarily what you thought you would give up a second round pick for immediately after you drafted him. But yeah, it's just a wonder if he can like differentiate himself from any of the other logjam guys at the bottom of the pile there, just looking to play as the seventh defenseman, right? Like what differentiates him and what he can do to make himself a more appealing option to play in the NHL. Because right now he's got a bit more time. He's not old by any stretch, but he could just become a guy who gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that he had such a catastrophically bad preseason, because I did kind of like him a little bit more to be that wrist line and stopgap guy,
Yeah.
more than Yinning. I think his puck skills in general are a little
Yes.
bit better, so like that moves the needle a bit for me. But then like I don't know, are we splitting hairs at this point? But
Well, that's what I was gonna say to you as well. Like he didn't have a good preseason, but I don't think any of the guys were fighting for the spot. Zamula had a horrid preseason.
Yeah.
Yinning took a terrible penalty. I remember like specifically all 3 or 4 of those guys, like a moment where you're like, oh my goodness, that's a terrible game. So, I continue, but I wanted to say like it's not like he was a complete different out of the league of the other guys. I just think that he didn't show enough.
Yeah, but to bring it back to the scope of the Phantoms, he's a guy that they clearly like a lot down there, so I expect he's going to get a big role for them again, even though they have a lot of bodies around still, and like they're trying to figure out that mix. But he's still got some runway to kind of figure out what his game is, and I think they're going to give it to him.
I hope he can figure something out because, that size and having that right-handed shot could be a huge asset for the team. Now, the last 2 guys I have on my list here before we kind of get to the free form and the under the radar guys and stuff. Aleksei Kolosov. We all love him, right? He's a popular guy in Lehigh Valley. He loves Allentown. 23 years old. Last year at the ELC. He's an RFA after the season. I have to imagine this is the last straw for the Flyers. If he can't do anything here, this has to be it because he has just been such a frustrating player it's such a headache for not showing you a ton in the glimpses we've gotten.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like so far he's committed to actually playing in the AHL and getting the reps that he needs to actually develop his game. But let me tell you, he did not look great over the weekend. He didn't look very good. I just like his game sort of baffles me where he's so lights out for a couple of games in a row. Like he's using that quickness that really stands out. And then like Sunday he played and he's like getting sort of lost. I made a note of a couple of plays where like traffic was getting set up in front of him and he was just sort of getting square-ish behind his defenseman. And just like, it seemed like he was hoping that either he was going to move or block the shot down in front of him and he could deal with it. He wasn't really trying to fight through that traffic to actually see the pucks. It was really baffling to me. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen someone do that at the professional level.
Yeah,
so, I don't know where that leads.
That's not a glowing review.
No.
Yeah.
Any strong thoughts on Kolosov, Jacob?
Well, you look at last year, split 29 games between the NHL and the AHL. 884, 867. That's not going to pay the bills. It's not great. And ever since he's come over, it's been a lot of problems, and even in the AHL, he just hasn't looked any better, by any extent, really, at all. And it seems like he just overplays his position way too much. He's really athletic, but he's one way, the other way. Him and Fedotov, like that little stretch where those were the two goalies, they're just all over the place. Like they're playing parts of the net. They're playing like it's a soccer net in there at times. They're trying to overprotect. It's like they're trying to square up to post. They're always trying to keep their chest square on the post. Like they're trying to overplay everything, and it leads to just like rebounds where half the net's open. And I don't know if the Flyers can develop something into Kolosov that makes him play a little bit better, makes him a little less jumpy in the net, and makes him track the puck more, like Maddie was saying. Like he does need to track the puck a lot better, especially at his size. He doesn't have the Fedotov cheat code where he's just seeing over everybody all the time. And yeah, 6 foot tall goalie who can't stay square to the puck in the NHL. It's tough. It's tough.
And I think the bummer with the goaltending situation is like he had an opportunity. Fedotov was by no means a lock last year, and we saw that with the trade to Columbus. And Dan Vladar is nothing special. Like there is opportunity to be had there, and if he can have a solid year, he can work his way back into the picture. But it's not looking good right now.
No, it's just I don't even know how long he'll be with the Phantoms at this point. It just seems like his time's really running thin, and who knows if he ends up getting benched for a week. Maybe he's just like, I'm done. I'm like, why am I doing this? I go play in the KHL again, and I don't really blame him.
I'll see you guys. I'm out of here. Like just that simple. He just pieces out.
He's proven that he wants to do it already. I don't think the Flyers are going to try and pull him back if he continues to like play the way that he has. I don't think you need to chase him at this point because he hasn't shown anything in the AHL even that you would think he's gonna help your NHL team.
The guy who does like the peace sign and disappears? That's Kolosov.
Yeah.
Last guy I have on my list here, Carson Bjarnson. I think if there's two goaltending hopes in this system right now, it's obviously Zavragin, but Carson Bjarnason's up there as well. 20 years old, first full pro season. Maddie, what are our expectations for young Carson?
I'm trying to keep things manageable, at least to start the season, because, that jump up from the WHL to the AHL is a pretty steep one. And he was around for the playoffs at the end of the year last year, but he didn't really get any playing time. So I still consider his sort of baseline as being at 0 starting the season. So we'll see what happens to start here. But, he's been a guy who I always think of as like being a lot more stable. And I think we saw that in his first preseason game. He wasn't perfect, but I thought he was pretty good. So I think he could be a nice balance to whatever's going on with Kolosov. So I still think he's like a ways away from pushing for an NHL job. I don't want to get crazy here, but we'll see what he does this year. I don't have super high expectations. He's going to do what he does.
Carson. Jacob, you know anything about Carson Bjarnson? Any opinion at all? It's okay if you don't.
Well, I mean, like 6'4". I just like seeing guys who are a bit bigger, just a bit lankier in net. I really I did like Bjarnson like coming out of Brandon. I think he is a good goalie. It's just one of those things like it's hard to tell when these guys jump to the AHL like at all. You can see them playing well. Maybe it's easier if you're coming from the NCAA, maybe, but even then I don't think so. You're coming from the WHL with Brandon. He had some pretty good numbers there relative to the rest of the league. But like there's been so many highly touted guys who just come to the AHL, come to the NHL, and they just can't keep up with how fast the puck moves. So you're going to see in the first 10 games, like he plays in the AHL, how he sort of adapts to it. But yeah, like Maddie said, he's got a bit more of a conventional frame for a goalie nowadays, and he's not going to be all over the place. His positional play is a lot more sound. And yeah, we'll see how it goes for him. But I think a lot of his season might depend on how good the Phantoms are as a whole too. I think he could look a lot better if the team's good.
Yeah, and I know they're trying really hard to fix their D zone play because it was a disaster last year. So we'll see how that works out. But
I'm
they're
excited
trying.
for the I'm very excited for the coaching change in Lehigh Valley. I think
Yeah.
that's going to be a great thing for the development of these guys. My 2 cents on Bjarnson too is the interesting thing is he's got a very clear timeline for his development. Vladar's got a 2-year contract. I don't think he's coming back after that because the Vragan also has like 2 years, and these guys have a clear window where they can make this impression. And Bjarnason has like 2 years where he can really wow the hell out of us in the AHL. And then maybe he's got an NHL job after that. And I would say Sam Erson's job is far from secure as well, because obviously he struggled a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything in net is set in stone right now at all. It's going to be really nebulous and kind of all over the place until somebody takes the reins and actually has a stretch of good performances in the NHL. I mean, Sam, it might have been a little bit unfair for him, and we'll circle back to the Phantoms quickly, but I think a lot of these guys, they're given a chance to take the net, and it just hasn't happened yet at the AHL level and at the NHL level. Like even Fedotov, Peterson, Kolosov last year, all these guys had a shot at it, even in the AHL, and it never seemed like anywhere was stable goaltending wise. So, par for the course, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Maddie, anybody we haven't mentioned today that you really want to put a spotlight on for the Phantoms this coming season?
I mean, everybody here knows that I am a big fan of Aleksei Gendron's game. So I am very excited to see what he's able to do this season. They've added some more speed up front, which I think should help him just have some more guys that can keep up with him. We know he can score goals. I'm still waiting for the playmaking side to wake up a little bit, but I think having some more guys in the mix who can keep up with him is going to help that out a bit. So, yeah,
we know
Richard's
got
fun.
speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony Dick's back.
Tony Dick is, dude, every time he gets a cup of coffee with the Flyers, I am delighted because he's so fast. And yeah, I mean, having fast guys in the system is something the Flyers have never had. I feel like there's more fast guys in the works for the Flyers than any other point in team history.
Just sheer speed wise, yeah, there are some guys who can move. Unfortunately, there's not a ton that they can do otherwise in some cases, but they can get the burners going.
It's nice to have anybody. This is a franchise that's historically slow. Any other guys you want to put a spotlight on? Any under the radar people that we're not really like thinking about?
I don't think anybody really talked about Jacob Gauthier like this preseason, but 6'4", another big body. I mean, if he finds a way to score consistently in the AHL, and it doesn't seem like Rodrigo Abels is like a lock to play in and night out. So maybe Gauthier could take that role. But we talked about a lot of guys on the roster that I don't necessarily think Carson Dewart is going to do anything this year too spectacular. I was a big fan of Massimo Rizzo back in the day, but Massive Riz, unfortunately, may not be the thing that I thought it was coming out of Denver. But I just say Gauthier because he's big and he's got that frame for a bottom sixer. If he can find a bit more of a scoring touch, I think he would be a guy that maybe they look towards bringing up for a cup of coffee again. And if they have some injuries up the middle, maybe Christian Dvorak cuts that down a little bit because he plays a similar sort of game as a center with a bit more skill. But yeah, Gauthier had a pretty decent year. And for a guy who played in the ECHL for a little bit in 2023-24, he's made a pretty good career for himself down in Lehigh Valley. So maybe watch out for him. But yeah, I think we covered pretty much everybody there.
All right. Well, we got the big names out there, and I think we covered the. I have a question here about who has the best chance to get extended playing time for the Flyers this season. I think we covered those guys. Bump, Andrae, those are really like the big names you have to watch out for. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe try to work Barkey in there at some point, but who knows? And Bonk, I think, is a big candidate to maybe get some playing time.
Yeah, McDonald's. Someone who always seems to be hanging around in those conversations.
He'll be there.
Yeah.
They want to put him up there. Kaplan, again, the newly acquired Carl Grunstrom. He's a classic bubble guy who, him and Anthony Richard are going to be trying to stab each other for halfway through the season. So one of them can get 4 more NHL games on their record. But yeah, he could maybe make an appearance. But besides that, I think that's about it. I don't think Samu's getting in this year, unfortunately.
No, I feel like Samu's bound for like Tampa Bay or something at some point. Just
Samu's
Carolina.
a Utah Mammoth.
Right, exactly. It just does not seem like a guy who's going to be a Flyer ultimately. And that's fine because there's plenty of great players in the wings right now for this team, at the wings specifically. I didn't even mean it like that. So the Phantom season starts this Saturday on the 11th, right, Maddie?
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, you're going to be at a ton of games this year. You're always at a ton of games. So if you need Phantoms coverage, Maddie over here is the go-to source. It's this way.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. You're pointing to nothing.
I'm pointing to nothing. I'm pointing to my wall. How about that? Yeah,
Wall.
so Maddie, any final thoughts before we sign off here?
Just that I'm cautiously optimistic about this season. I think it's probably going to be good, definitely going to be fun. So I'll take that any day.
Oh, for sure. Jacob, any parting thoughts?
Yeah, I'm happy that Lappy's not the coach anymore. Like, I like Lappy as a guy, but it just was getting so tiresome to see him down there because he's not a head coach. He's not a professional head coach. And I'm tired of having to pretend. I was tired of having to pretend that he was actually a head coach and not just a guy who ran a team. And like, if you played like minor hockey, he's a guy who opens the doors. He's not physically opening the doors, but that was what Lappy was doing. So maybe now we can get some actual like development down there. It seems like it's been a while since guys have gone to the Phantoms and actually came back better, came back like improved massively, especially the forwards. I think offensively, it'd be nice to see like guys like Bump start hot and they put a line together. Let's say like, Gaucher, Bump, and Gendron or something, and it's a fun line, and you can watch it, and they're actually going to score and play well together and have some camaraderie, and hopefully the team can improve just a bit more. It's not like they were horrible last year by any stretch of the imagination, but it'd be nice to see them driven more by younger guys, and I think they have a chance to do that now.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you both for joining me today. If people want to follow you on social media, Maddie, where can people find you?
I guess still on Twitter, technically. Find me on BroadStreetHockey.com.
Yeah, find her on BroadStreetHockey.com. Great. And Jacob, where can people find you on the socials if they want to?
At Russell_28_ on Twitter. I don't check it very often. I may be on there during the Blue Jays game. If it goes the way the last two have, I will be sprinting down the road, questionably clothed.
I'll be pulling for you guys right now because my guys aren't looking too good. So
I really wish the Phillies. I have my Halliday Phillies jersey right there. I really wish they got it done. Yeah, I really wish they got it. They come back and get it done. They would be the ones.
You never know. You never know. We'll see. I do know it's going to go bad, but whatever. You can follow me at Flyperbole. You can also listen to my show Flyperbole appearing on Broad Street Hockey. You can catch me on PHLY post games. Flyperbole mainly on Blue Sky, but also Instagram and TikTok as well. We put clips from the show, all that good stuff. Follow Broad Street Hockey, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like and subscribe to the podcast and all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much. And we appreciate you listening or watching. And give us a good old like if you're watching on the YouTubes, please. And thank you. And until next time, in the words of the great Gene Hart, good night and good hockey.